Be sure to stick around to the end of the video to find out what game we'll be playing next week on Best with a Buddy. Hello everyone, Johnny Hurricane here from GamersHeroes.com, and welcome to Best with a Buddy, where Smith and I play a co-op game for a few hours, give our general impressions, what we like and dislike, and then give a fun factor score.
Games today aren't cheap. $50, $60, $70, it really adds up, especially if you want to buy a few copies with your buddies. We're going to break down the best and worst of all things co-op, and today we're diving into the relatively cheap Tribes of Midgard.
Tribes of Midgard is an isometric base-building survival game where you defend your village from the Jotun and Ragnarok. It combines survival, roguelike, and tower defense elements to create a fresh and innovative mix of new mechanics. Tribes of Midgard is for tower defense fans, and we're going to get more into that in a minute. Quick session-based gamers, like the matches rarely last more than 30 minutes unless you're doing very good, and fans of simple combat because there's nothing really advanced here.
Tribes of Midgard is for those interested in the Nordic theme. The visuals are really good. Fans of grind, there's a lot of grind, a lot of persistent rewards hidden behind a lot of time, and control freaks that love having to reform parties after every single game. Tribes of Midgard is not for people that don't like to play with strangers, randoms ruin everything, gamers that like to play solo, there's not much fun for you here, and players that don't like dying and losing everything over and over again.
Tribes of Midgard is also not for people who like advanced base building. There's nothing fancy about this. You get a wall, you get a ramp, and you get a floor. That's about it. It's also not for people who stress easy. You don't have a lot of time in between being attacked to really look at stuff. And it's also not for people who are fans of quick progression, because there is a lot of grinding. Now that we've gone over who the game is for and not for, let's take a deeper dive and look at the best and worst of Tribes of Midgard. One of the best parts about Tribes of Midgard is the gameplay loop. As I said, it is pretty simple, and here it is, basically in a nutshell. You have a village, you are a Viking. You go out, collect materials, wood, rocks, ores to build up your equipment, armor, weapons, and build up the base, your village. You can build gates, you can build towers, and what you have to do basically every night is defend the tree at the center. You put your experience, your souls, into the tree, and that counts as its HP. Every night, these dark enemies come and attack. It's real simple. Defend the base, you see the next day. Don't defend the base, you don't see the next day. But in that, there is other villagers that you can upgrade, like the blacksmith and the trapper. You give them upgrades, they build new stuff. And yeah, the loop is it's simple, but I feel like for the most part it is rewarding. What about you, Smith? Do you like it?
I think it's good. I think personally I'm not a big fan of it because it's when you get in, it's slow to start, and every single time you have to repeat that intro, it's just that bit longer. You've got to get in, you've got to get your branches and your flint to get your basic tools, or you go out and get your leather to get your armor. If you like it, if you like the gameplay loop, you will love the game.
Yeah.
Because it will just keep going, and it keeps going, and there's plenty of persistent stuff to keep you into it. I myself didn't like it all that much, but it is very easy to understand. As I said before, I think we're going to see a meta develop at some point, but it's very easy to understand, very easy to get into, and you can feel useful as a new player surrounded by experienced players just contributing a little bit. Yeah, so I think it's a good system for sure.
Another great part of Tribes of Midgard is the shared exploration. What I mean by that is, let's say when Smith goes off to the west, I go off to the north, Smith finds a fast travel point, I find a fast travel point. We don't actually need to go to those fast travel points ourselves. So I can use the one that Smith has found, and I can also see that he's already been over there, so I can see if he's cleared out a camp or anything over there, which is pretty good. There is one downside to this, however. Smith, what do you think? How many times did someone just walk right past a fast travel point and not even do anything?
Oh, endless times. It comes back to that problem of relying on random people in a game that requires so much communication to succeed, that people will just run past it, not access it, and we just sort of stuck there thinking, have you been there? Have you explored it? Why is it not activated? It's a stupid problem.
Right, Smith's always like, yes, people skipping over the shiny thing, and yes, they do. But when it works very well. So, I know Smith's going to find the point, I'm going to find the point. It works great when people are doing what they're supposed to do. Another good part of Tribes of Midgard is it's just simple to get in and play, right? You can team up almost immediately. I think you need to do a tutorial first, but it's a very short tutorial, and quite frankly, it's not that in-depth. And once you join up with someone, all you got to do is click play. You can play solo if you want. You can play with just your party, or you can play with up to 10 players. You get into a match, and that's it. You just go. Generally, I don't know, Smith, what do you think? Max time on a match, maybe between 20 to 30 minutes. Maybe it feels a little longer, but
I think with the current skill level of the community as a whole, it's about that much. I can definitely see it increasing, as you sort of weed out the casuals and the more competitive hardcore players come in. When the meta starts developing on what the quickest way to progress is and the best way to get the best weapons fast, I think it will definitely grow. But as it is right now, yeah, about 15 minutes to half an hour before everybody dies because they know what they're doing. So it's not too long.
No, and it's also something like, well, when you die, assuming that, you didn't lose because of something silly, it's not that bad, right? So like, okay, well, I died, whatever. It's going to happen again, so not a big deal. That's what I like, getting in, getting out. Like right before bed last night, I was like, I'm just going to try a match. Got in, beat the Jotun, got out. Easy peasy. What about you, Smith? What's a couple of the best parts for you about Tribes of Midgard?
I think probably the class and cosmetic system. I'm a massive fan of locking important stuff away behind an achievement or an accomplishment of some sort. So going back to my days as playing Final Fantasy when it first came out, Final Fantasy 7, and finding Vincent and Yuffie and these other characters that are, you could miss an entire character. So that's a whole skill set, all this other stuff that comes with it. And it's the same in this. The class system, you start with a ranger and a
warrior, I think it is. Yeah.
Very basic. I'm not a massive fan of the actual class system myself. We'll get to that in a minute. But each of the other classes is unlocked by accomplishing in-game feats. Really hard. Like right now, I can't see myself even being able to do 2 or 3 of them. Like just impossible. Other ones are more manageable, but they're still quite a ways off. And I think it really adds something to hide something so exciting. It's there. You can see it. It tells you how to get it. So it's not guesswork. But hiding something so valuable behind a lock system, I think is really good. And it's the same thing with the cosmetics. They're unlocked as you progress, and then when you come in, you start with a cosmetic item on you. So if you've got a shield with a wolf face on it, it's still the base shield that you start with if you have that shield, but it's got a different cosmetic. And I think that adds a lot of individuality for each player.
Yeah, I agree completely. I do think it is taking a little while to unlock the classes, which is why we mentioned if you don't like to grind, this is not the game for you. But I guess we should have mentioned this. I got a little bit more time than Smith does in it because I played solo last night. So I probably got about 10 hours in. And Smith, you probably got, 6-ish? Something like that?
Yeah, 6, 7.
And neither of us has a class unlocked. We're getting towards one of them, but it's still taking a while. Again, it goes back to the random players, it is what it is. But what's something else that you liked about Tribes of Midgard?
I think other than the class, it's probably the boss battles. So there's these big, is it Jotuns? We're going to get burned alive.
Jotun.
Wrong. Yeah.
Jotun.
Doesn't matter how you pronounce it. There's always someone in the YouTube comments. Yeah, it's every single time. So these are big, sort of larger than life characters. Most of them sort of seem to be tied to some kind of element, dark, lightning, that kind of stuff. And after a couple of days in game, you'll get a notification that one of them has spawned and it's moving towards your base. If your base is destroyed, you fail. So that's pretty much the main goal, is to defend your base. The Jotun gets closer and closer every single day, and you and your allies at some point have to make a decision to go out and fight them. And these fights, as you sort of close in, the camera pans out, because otherwise you're not going to be able to see anything with their feet, because they're pretty huge. And then you start the fight. And it's a typical fight, you dodge, block, attack. They've got special attacks and stuff like that. But the scope of the battles, the visuals, it does come together to make quite an exciting challenge. And they are difficult to take down as well.
Yeah, they are. And it's another interesting thing because you do have to take care of these things ideally before they get to your base. Because if they get in, it's pretty much over unless they're really close to dead. But while that's going on, you also have to be like, oh crap, night's coming. My base is going to be attacked again. And by then it's probably going to be day 4 or 5. So it's not just the pushover enemies that are attacking your base. It's the fat guys with the lasers that if you don't stop like right away, your tree is going to die and you're just going to lose anyway. So you have to balance this, because if you leave the Jotun for too long, it will regenerate. It doesn't regenerate fast, at least at first, but they do regenerate HP. So you can't just let them go. And again, it's this, quick decisions. If it stresses you out, this game's not really for you. But man, when you take one down for the first time, that's a good feeling. Smith was his first takedown. He actually got the kill, I'm pretty sure. So that was nice for him. Now that we've talked about the best, let's talk about the worst that Tribes of Midgard has to offer. I'm going to kick it over to Smith to start us off.
I think the primary issue, now we played on PlayStation 5, I'm sure on PC this is not a problem, but the game is heavily reliant on communication and it gives you no tools to communicate. Anyone that plays on the PlayStation knows regularly, if you're playing with friends, you're in a party chat. If you're in a party chat, you can't communicate with your friends in game. This leaves randoms running around doing different tasks, building different things, leaving nothing to actually get built. So whereas me and Johnny were trying to build the towers, Other people were getting resources that were stopping us building the towers, and they were upgrading the blacksmith. All of it makes sense. All of it has value. But if you're not communicating, if you're not working on the same project, it takes a lot longer to get everything built. There are emotes, but they're not really well used. They definitely could have done with some quick chat functions. It's just overall, again, on console anyway, it's players don't communicate as often as they should. So it's not necessarily a fault with the game, but they definitely don't bring in anything to help the situation. Johnny, I know you played solo a lot more than I did. Did you find any communication issues with other players?
Yeah, no, it was just straight up, like you said, maybe 1 or 2 people would be talking, but you could tell just by the map, right? Like 2 or 3 people will be traveling together. Like those guys are in party chat, right? That's just it. And there's nothing you can do to communicate with them. They're not going to jump out of party chat. So, they're just going to go off and do their own thing. Now, you might get lucky and those guys might be attacking the boss, right? But a lot of the times you look on the map and the base is getting killed. Where are they? Off doing whatever they think is important. So yes, communication is a huge issue. The other problem with this is Smith and I played with just 2 people. It is not balanced for less than 10 people, quite frankly, because all the materials still at the same cost. You get a lot of enemies attacking you. You got to defend 3 gates. So Smith and I had 2 people. By day 3 or 4, I mean, just no matter what we did, no matter how good we were just, getting taken out. So you have to really play with a competent full group of at least 5 if you want to get somewhere. Another terribly annoying thing that is in Tribes of Midgard is there's no auto loot, and you are looting a lot. So the base of the game, as we explained earlier, you're going around chopping down trees, cutting rocks, getting ore and all that. That stuff comes right into your inventory. That's not a problem. But what you're also doing is fighting bandits and goblins and other little creatures and animals that drop certain items. Now, they're all the same thing, right? They're all a bag. And inside that is the different items, but you have to individually click the square button to pick them all up, which is just silly. You should just run right over them. In a game like this, you should run over them and just have it all come into you, or just have like a magnet that just absorbs it all in. It's very, very annoying. I don't know why. Like I said, any game like this should have it, because sometimes there's a lot of loot, especially when you're going by a treasure chest. Smith, I feel like we're on the same page on this one, right? The game should have auto loot, plain and simple.
At the very least, an option to turn it off and on. The only benefit I can see to not having it is that you're not stealing loot from other players, but there is a chest in the home base that you can put stuff in and trade. You can also drop items, right? So in a game where right now everyone's exploring it, everyone's having a good time, as it develops, people are going to get more efficient, they're going to get more competitive, but they're going to want to get quicker. And having to stop and loot individual items every single time with unresponsive buttons as it is cumbersome and time consuming.
Speaking of buttons not being responsive, this game has an absolutely terrible dodge. First and foremost, let's go into the fact okay, it reminds me a little of Godfall. When you do this, when you have a dodge in a game, it needs to take priority, plain and simple, right? So if you're mid combo and I press dodge, that's it, I'm dodging. If not, don't even bother having a dodge, quite frankly. Dodge is always the priority, and it is not in this game. So if you're in the middle of a combo and you try to dodge, forget about it, dude. You need to finish your combo and then dodge, which by then, it's too late. The dodge isn't that good to begin with. And as Smith was talking about, there is a button delay, or at least it felt like constantly there was a button delay. Even with just hitting square to attack, it felt like I'd hit square, there'd be like, I don't know, 0.5 seconds, something like that?
It was long enough to notice, and when you're about to get hit by a giant molten hammer of death, and that 0.5 second delay is there, it feels like forever. I don't know if it's server based, because it does appear to be peer-to-peer, so it might be something they clear up, but I've played games where this is a permanent thing, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but regardless, even without the button delay, the dodge is terrible. There is a shield block, which it works better, but to be honest, from my experience, get the best axe you can and just spam square until the thing's dead. That's where I go anyways. And then this last thing, Smith, you brought up, basically the incentive to leave before, it goes by days. So after day 5, you might be able to leave with a crown. You care to go into that a little bit more, Smith?
Yeah, so is it called a crown? Is that the actual item's name?
I don't know if it's the horn. It's the horn of Valhalla, I think it is. It's a golden horn. I called it a crown because of the Fall Guys. But yeah.
Yeah, so
golden horn.
It's like a persistent currency you get. If you manage for each Jotun, whatever, we should have pronounced that, 'cause I'm going to get lit up for that one. Each one of those you kill during a single session, you're awarded one of these golden tokens that you can take to spend on the in-game store or you can also spend it in matches for certain things. So what we were doing, we would join a game at like day 4 when the big guy was there, the Jotun was there, would kill it, and everyone would leave because they want their crown. If you lose, you don't get the crown. So they're incentivizing people to bail at the first hurdle to get the reward, especially at the moment. Again, as the game grows, people might get a bit riskier, but there's a class associated with being able to leave via the Bifrost before you die. So people automatically want to get that. And some of the stuff you can buy with the crown, there's some really cool weapon skins, some pets. So rather than sort of risking it for a biscuit and going for 2, 3, 4 crowns, people are just getting the one and bailing. So anyone else that's left is just left to die.
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's the recipes. So how the recipes work in this game, basically you start with common and uncommon, which is your white to your green, and then I think you might have 1 or 2 blues, but you need to unlock all those through challenges or spending the golden horns to get more powerful equipment. So right now, nobody's really all that powerful just because nobody has any crown, or I keep calling them crowns, golden horns to spend it on. But because the recipe I can buy is 10 golden horns, which I think I have 11. And as I said, I've been playing about 10 hours. So they're pretty rare. Like I said, you're going to have to grind if you want to get this. But it's also, you know, if you want to keep playing and getting better, you're going to have to do it. But I agree with Smith, because there's a second class. You need to kill 3 Jotuns in 1 world. And if everyone leaves after the first one, guess what? You're never going to unlock that class. So I think there should be like, hey, if you stay towards the second one, maybe you get 2 of those instead of 1 off of the second Jotun. Something like that, just to keep players more incentivized to get there. Of course, on the flip side of this, Smith and I would join, and it'd be day 4, and the Jotun would already be killed, and we'd just go into the Bifrost and leave because it would count for us, and we'd get a free horn. So, I mean, you know. There's little things right now, but I think it needs to be worked on. I agree with you on that, Smith. Just before we jump into our final verdict, share your score down below. 1 to 5 stars. Let us know what you think of Tribes of Midgard. And now for the fun factor score. I'm going to go ahead and give Tribes of Midgard a 4-star rating. I really like this game. When I play a co-op game without Smith, especially with randoms, when I can't communicate, there must be something about the game that is keeping me there. I think it's very simple, but very easy to get into. You can almost immediately by day 2 or 3 know if you're going to be successful in killing the boss or not. So if you're not, then you can just bail and jump into another match, or you can try it if you want. It doesn't really matter. There are some issues with the communication, as I said, other issues like just straight up the delay. I don't know, with the buttons. That has to be server side. That can't have, that can't be part of the game, I feel like. But other than that, I mean, it's just, I've had a blast with it, like I said, and right now I want to play more of it, so that's where I'm at with it. What about you, Smith? How many stars you giving this one?
I'm going to give Tribes of Midgard a fun factor score of 4 out of 5. I don't like anything about the game. I don't like its roguelike progression. I don't like the repetitive start of the game. I don't like the way you rely on other players, but I don't want to stop playing it. It's as the individual elements, I don't like any of them, but when you put them all together in a package, it's got that addictive element to it where I want to get in, I want to do that little bit better, I want to discover that, because we've barely scratched the surface of the game with 20 hours between us, give or take. There's so much more we haven't done, there's events we haven't seen, quests we haven't completed, there's just so much to it, and I think it's a really good balance of casual players can jump in, have a few hours with fun with their friends and make a bit of progress. Hardcore players can dump in, really min-max what they want to do, really get efficient runs going and progress even further. So I think it's got a very broad appeal for a game that otherwise has quite a niche combination of mechanics. And now for the important question, Johnny, would you dive in with a buddy and play Tribes of Midgard again?
I would. I absolutely would. In fact, I will probably be playing shortly after this. So yes, I'm definitely going to be playing again. What about you, Smith? Would you dive in with a buddy and play Tribes of Midgard again?
Absolutely. As soon as the editing's done for this video, I am game. Let's go.
Now, before we get to the wheel spin, Smith, what game do you not want it to be?
Anything but Demon's Souls. I never want to have to play that game ever again. Ever.
Fair enough. Now, before we do the actual spin, so we're all clear, I'm the guy who spins the wheel. I already know what's coming up. Smith does not, and neither do you, so it's going to be a surprise for both of you. And without further ado, let's spin the wheel.
Excited for this wheel. Oh, that's nice. That is way higher quality than I was expecting. Anything but Demon's Souls.
Godfall.
Godfall. I thought I was Sea of Thieves for a second. I can do Godfall. That's cool. I'm looking forward to that one. Definitely.
Yeah. No experience with Godfall, quite frankly, outside of the fact that people seem to not like it very much, but it is coming to the PlayStation 4, so I guess that is a good enough time to try it. Yeah, so you're excited to try it as well?
I am. I don't know why you moved into the Demon Souls bit there. I think you're taunting me a little bit, Johnny.
I'm just reminding people that it's there, so you know.
Well, thanks
but
for that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's coming up sooner or later. But yes, be sure to look forward to our next episode next week, where we will be checking out Godfall, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably also interested in because not many people bought that game. But yeah, that'll do it for us. Thank you for popping in for this episode of Best with a Buddy. If you liked what you saw, got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.